Hello, I'm Jagan from Grow with Data. Welcome to the Crack SQL Interview in 50 question series. In this video series, we will practice 50 SQL questions across various topics. You can use the playlist Crack SQL Interview in 50 questions to follow the videos related to this series. For each video in this series, you can find the related code on my GitHub. Feel free to explore the code and provide any feedback in the comment section. If you go to the YouTube channel Grow with Data, you have the playlist section where you can see the code SQL interview, Python interview questions and SQL interview questions. If you go on the Crack SQL interviews, you can see all the videos related to that series. If you want to see the code, go to the comment section. In the code part, you have the GitHub link. If you click on the link, you can get the create table script and you have the SQLs related to that. Okay, now let's talk about the data set for today. Let's adjust the window. Okay, so we are given a weather table which got an ID which is a unique identifier for this table, and we have the record date when the temperature got recorded and the temperature. What they are asking is we have to write a solution to find all the dates ID with higher temperature compared to the previous dates. If you see Jan 1st and Jan 2nd, right? So the temperature recorded is 10 and 25. So the temperature got increased by 15 from 1st to 2nd. From 2nd to 3rd, the temperature got decreased. So this is a valid record. And from 20 to 30, so 3 to 4. So this is a valid record. But if you see this, the temperature increased from 30 to 40. It's supposed to be a valid record, but if you see the date, it's from 4 to 6. We are missing 5. So the date difference is not 1. So it should be the date difference between the record should be 1. So 4 and 6 is not going to match. So the expected output is going to be this ID 2 and ID 4. Let's create the table first. Okay, and comment this out. So the expected output is going to be ID 2 and 4. Okay. Okay, how to do that? First, let's talk about the first approach, which is a self-join approach. So what is a self-join? Self-join is nothing but you join the table to itself and compare the rows from the same data set. How will do that? Let's start doing it. Select from weather, we say W1, inner join weather. So we are going to use the same table and we are going to compare that to itself. On W2 dot, the date should be the difference between the date should be 1, right? So W2 dot record date equal to W1 dot record date, plus we have to see the difference is 1. We can do it in two ways. First is date add W1 dot record date interval 1 day. Okay, so what it means is W1 is the first record and W2 is the second record. Okay, so the second record W2's date should be W1's date plus 1, right? So Jan 1st plus 1 is Jan 2nd. So we have the first condition ready. So the difference between the two dates is 1. And the second condition is and W2 dot the temperature part, right? Temperature is should be greater than W1 dot temperature, right? So what they want us to do, we want to get the ID. So which ID should we take, W1 or W2? As I said, this record is going to be W1 and this is going to be W2, right? So the difference between that is 1, good, and the temperature should be greater than the previous one. So we are going to get this ID, right? So we just say w2 dot id, and when you run this, you get 2 and 4. So the key point here is how you see the difference, right? So there are different ways you can see the date difference. The basic one is you just say date add and then the interval is 1, right? That's one. Or you can just say date difference, right? In let's see if that works. You just say, sorry, on date difference of days w2 w1 comma w1, right, should equal to 1. Let's see if this works. No, date difference of day, not days. I think it just by default take dates. So every database have a different date function. For MySQL, we can say date diff of the second day comma the first day should be 1. If it's a MS SQL server, it might be you have to give the day and then you can do it, right? So I preferably go with the date equal to the previous day plus 1, right? If you want to make the difference, you can use this. So this is a basic function. The only key thing is we have to know which record should be the primary and which record should be the previous days, the secondary one, right? So that you can know which ID you have to use in the select statement. So this is a basic one. Let's see if we can use a Windows function. In our previous videos, we talked about a lot of Windows function like row number, dense rank, rank, lead, lag, all that, right? So in this exercise, since we are comparing between two records of the same table, we are going to use the function called lag. Okay, so lead is will take one record ahead of it, lag is one record after the current record. So let's start with this table. So here we just say w1.id, w1.recordDate, not order date, recordDate, w1.temperature. If I want to get the previous record, I say lag of record date and we say 1. 1 means you go one record behind over order by w1 dot record date. So it just say previous order date. Same way we can just say the lag of temperature, and same you order by the record date and go to the previous record. Let's run this and see how this works. Even the alias name is going to be same, w1 dot. So we don't have to do a self join. The same table, but we can get the previous record. Let's pull this up here. So this is a previous temperature. So if you see this, let's bring in the data set. For Jan 1st, right, there is no previous record, right? So there's no previous record, so the previous information is null. If you go to Jan 2nd, the previous record is Jan 1st, right? So the previous order date is Jan 1st and the temperature is 10. This is what is here, the previous value. and for Jan 3rd, the previous record is Jan 2nd and the temperature is 25. For Jan 4th, the previous record is Jan 3rd and it's 20. And for Jan 6th, the previous record is Jan 4th. So you don't check for the date -1 or date -2 kind of thing. You just check only the previous record order by the order date, right? You just currently the record is in order, so we just go with the previous record irrespective of what value it is. It just goes with the row number. Okay. Okay. So when you goes with 6, the previous record is Jan 4th. So that's what it is here, right? So we got the raw structure of it, right? So based on this, we are going to filter out the conditions we are looking for. So what we do, we just create this as a CT table with all, what is a good name we can give? All data source as, we just keep this as a CT table and then say select from all data source where our previous order date, right? We can say that date difference. We can try the date difference here, where the date difference between the record date and the previous record, it's a record date. Since we work a lot with the orders table, we get used to it. So record date, previous record date should be 1 and the temperature should be greater than the previous temperature. So this is what the condition is, right? The date difference should be 1 and the temperature should be greater than the previous day's temperature, and we want to get the ID here. Okay. So we get the same result, right? Fine. So the only thing you see is we have to create a data set, the CTE table, and then use that to get the answer. But when you do a self join, we just do that in one SQL, but the problem is we use the same table twice. So there are advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantage is not there, but we can just say based on your need, you can say whether you use the self join or you can use the Windows function. For me, since I know the Windows function, this is kind of a clear structure for me. But people who don't know about the Windows function, the self join is the easier way to understand. But from my point of view, we use the same table twice, right? So I don't prefer that. So I'll go with the Windows function. So the advantage of self join is the clarity and the readability. So if people who don't know about Windows function, first time when they see the code, they can understand, okay, they use both the tables, table same, so it's a self join and then they are connecting to it, right? Second one is compatibility. The self join are more widely used across different databases. So not all the databases are supporting the Windows function, right? So the compatibility is more when you do the self join. But the advantage of the lead function is people who know the Windows function, right? So it's easy for us to understand how the SQL has been structured. So clear, right? So you just get the current record and then order by record date, you get the previous record, which is 1 means 1 record ahead, right? Second one is the performance. So the database which are supporting the Windows function, the database engine will have a better performance while operating with the Windows function. So the performance will be better when compared to the self join. So that's the second one. The third one is the flexibility. When you use a self join, you have to have the same table and then we have to see W2, W1, all that, right? But when you use the Windows function, it's only one table. So it's easy to bring in all the columns here, right? And then we can just have the raw data structure. So it's so flexible that you can play around with the data. So my preference will be the Windows function, provided you are familiar with that. So get practice and get used to it. But if you are new to SQL, I just say better you go with the self join, which is also a better option, right? Yeah, both types have their own advantages. You can just use based on your needs. Hope you like this video and thanks for watching.